Good afternoon, investigators. Welcome along to episode 302 of Spy Curious with Casey Pine. How are you, Casey?
I am amazing. Thank you, Mike.
That's great. Today's riveting episode of Spy Curious includes, are you ready for this? Historical sexual abuse allegations dropped against lady teachers. Something to look forward to there. The new stalking laws in New South Wales in relation to investigations. And also, we're going to be looking at, should you investigate cults? Okay, so one of the things I get asked quite frequently by people who want to become private investigators is, are you g'day? I want to do that course to become a licensed private investigator. I'm going to bust cults. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Right. I've got advice on that. So, g'day, Joy. How you going? Great to see you.
Thank you. Good to see
you. G'day, Joy. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Good to see you. All right, so we're going to cover all those different things. And Casey, have you got a no-sin tip for us later on?
I do. I have a very simple one, but it's served me really well because it's a pastime that a lot of people are involved in, and it's a really easy way to find out their name. So just in case people don't know it, that will be my tip of the week.
That'll be a bonus. Okay. All right. So people, if you didn't see it, over today on Friday Investigations Uni, we talked about Anton Piler Orders and had a case study. So if you're an Australian Security Academy graduate and you receive a weekly invite to that CPD program where you can get CPD points for studying the video and answering questions on it. That one will be a few months away yet because it's just hot off the press, hot out of the oven. It was all about a case study of Anton Piler Orders, and quite a relevant one for the times we live in today in Australia. So interesting one involving the 86th richest person in the world. And Australian. It's now 34 years since Harold Holt disappeared from the beach in Victoria. The Prime Minister went missing, and after a 2-day search, they declared him dead. They never found his body. So that happened 34 years ago, and if you can remember that like I can as a primary school student, you're old. It's also Christmas time. And we can have a little bit of fun this week because it is Christmas time. Casey and I had a lot of fun earlier this week. What did we do, Casey, on Tuesday night?
Oh, we went to the Outback Spectacular, which was incredible.
How good was that? That was an amazing show with 800 people there watching. Casey took us along to see the Outback Spectacular on the Gold Coast, which is next door to Movie World. And took us backstage and got us the backstage tour and all the insights into how it all works. It was a really great night. Really enjoyed it.
Should have got my hat.
Yeah, we should have brought our hats along. Everybody. So hitting the headlines this week.
Hi, Chantel.
G'day, Chantel. Great to see you. Thanks for checking in. The taxpayers are going to cover the legal fees of a teacher cleared of sex abuse due to gender. Now, she hasn't changed her gender or transitioned her gender, but the taxpayers have to foot the bill for her defence case in relation to the charges she was charged with. She was actually arrested and charged over the matter. She probably would have done some time waiting in cells somewhere on remand in relation to it. I think she actually went to jail. Another lady did actually go to jail in relation to one of those. This one, claims against her included penile vaginal intercourse with complainants, as well as masturbating them, performing fellatio on them, and telling them to perform sex acts on her. As the time of the alleged offending, the students were aged between 13 and 16. And in May, a second female teacher, Gay Grant, was cleared of historical sexual abuse on the same grounds. Now, what happened, basically, they read the law. And the law said that when a man abuses a child, then this happens, this happens, this happens. So because neither of those two teachers were men, Couldn't you see with the case? The law is an ass, but they read it to the letter of the law, and they have to. It's a precedent. They can't go sitting a precedent going, oh, well, we'll just change it in this court today against all the legislation that these learned people set, whatever. So they'd be actively now in New South Wales addressing that matter, so that if it happens in the future, you're not going to get away based on gender. So they will have to say if a woman or a man or whatever else, they're going to have to be really exact about it. Does this to a juvenile or a student or whatever, then it's an offence. Now, the big issue for all of us teachers with this sort of thing, all teachers, we hate it because it is a power imbalance. If that student or that child doesn't go along with it, then we have the capacity to fail them and fail them in everything they've studied and make their future hell for them with their parents and all that sort of. Tell anyone, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
If you say anything, you're going to fail. That's why we don't like it as teachers. Primary school teachers don't like it. High school teachers don't like it. TAFE teachers don't like it. Registered training teachers don't like it. Okay? It is a power imbalance used to control and influence, and the repercussions go on forever in that person's life. So that's really important that everybody understands that. That's basically why they don't like it. I'm coming. So the other news this week out of Victoria. This is a beauty. G'day everyone watching at the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division. I know you enjoy the program every week. We're up to episode 302. Thanks for your email this week telling us all about the fingerprint method being changed and the application for the criminal history check being changed early in 2025. Now, this was issued to all RTOs this week by the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division as upcoming improvement to the licence application process with a more easy to understand form. And it's great to see that the Victorian Police are actually following through on this and making appropriate changes in relation to it. So it's to the fingerprinting and the National Criminal History Check, and there's going to be more information coming out on it early 2025, and they're going to send it to us. G'day, Chris, mate.
Merry Christmas, Chris.
Merry Christmas to you too, and enjoy that cup of coffee today, buddy. So, the Victorian Police Licence Regulation Division, difficult job, understaffed, underfunded. The Victorian Police have 297 cases per day of domestic violence to deal with every day on average. The licensing authority still does its job very well. Under the extreme human resources pressures and budgeting pressures of an organisation that's got to deal with criminals, terrorists, bank robbers, gangsters, domestic violence at a rate of 297 call-outs per day. So that is absolutely shocking, but they do a great job in Victoria under extreme circumstances. So well done to all of the ladies and gents in Victorian licensing. Up in New South Wales, stalking now in New South Wales is a crime. So if you are just a person, not a licensed private investigator, forget that for a second, and you go out stalking people, it's now basically going to be a crime. So they have a definition of stalking on the New South Wales Police website, and you can go and see that there. They have a little brochure that tells you all about the new stalking laws and how it relates to domestic abuse, that sort of thing, coercive control, all of that. So again, if Victorian police have 297 to deal with every day, you can imagine that in New South Wales with a larger population, it would be incrementally higher than that they have to deal with that every day too.
About time stalking was criminalized. So it's just one of those things that police have just not known how to handle for so long, and it has caused the destruction of so many people's lives who have been the victims of stalking. It's crazy because I've just seen people deal with stalking for so long and they've just been completely terrorized, and the police go, well, there's nothing we can do. And now finally there is something they can do.
And one of our discussions between one of our students and Casey and I this week related to over-the-top stalking and the damage it did. It was just sad to see it. It's people taking advantage. Great to see people taking advantage of electronic, hiding electronically, changing their profiles, all that sort of thing, and doing that, just to harm and harass people. So in New South Wales, if you do it there, it's now a crime. People, if you don't want to be a stalker, but you do want to be a licensed private investigator, you can go over to our jobs page and see our Facebook page and see the job vacancies that have come up this week. I've been too busy to download them so I can show you this week. There's some super certificate. Super certificate 4 in government investigation jobs available here this week, which you don't need a private investigator's license for that, but you do need a certificate 4 in government investigation. So they're preparing for next year all around in every state and territory in Australia in relation to that. So jump on this Facebook page and see our jobs. Some of the jobs that you will see there, we're looking for investigators in New South Wales. This client wants 5 investigators. Actually, they wrote to me today about another one. They're just going to say 6 investigators now. You can see here Morris J. Kerrigan Associates are looking for factual investigators down in Victoria. These are just the types of jobs you'll see. General insurance investigator required by Quantum Corp in Melbourne, Victoria. General insurance is home and contents insurance, home arsons, home burglaries, stolen motor vehicles. It's the best fun you can have as a licensed private investigator for factual and surveillance investigations, because in general insurance investigation, there is a lot of exaggerated or attempted fraud. So you put your hand up to be an investigator, government, corporate or private, because you don't like that sort of thing. And general insurance, conducting that in Melbourne for Quantum Corp, which is an established national investigation agency. Great people at Quantum Corp. Hello, everybody at Quantum Corp. I know you watch too. They've got that vacancy available, and you can see it over here on our Facebook page. Casey, I'll come back to you so we can hear from you and I can shut up for a while.
Yep. Today's is just a really quick one, but it's really effective. I have used this, a number of times this year, and someone asked me for help on a case this week, and I managed to find the person super quickly because of a really simple thing, an image that the person of interest had on their profile. On their social media profile was an image of them. They had just finished a running race. So it was the Brisbane Marathon, and you could quite clearly see the Brisbane Marathon insignia, and they've got their bib with their number on it. You can take that number on that bib and look up, if you just go, like I Googled the Brisbane Marathon, and then you can bring up the website and look at the results. And just under the filters, you can put in their number and it'll bring up the name, because they want to be able to go back and check their results. So for any marathon, you can go into that website generally really easily, type in that number, and it will bring up that person's full name. And also usually an age bracket. Sometimes it has a specific age, but generally it's age brackets. So it's a really great way to confirm an identity, look at age brackets. Just really simple, but super effective. And I was quite surprised that this person didn't know this, but hey, we're all learning consistently. And straight away, full name, look them up. There you go. You're welcome. I guess I've just been doing it for so long now. It's just something I check straight away. So because running's such a huge thing in Australia at the moment, all the run clubs are full. Everyone's doing marathons. Everyone's doing half marathons. they generally have that Instagram photo, or they put it on LinkedIn or something there, on their Facebook with their bib number. Look it up and you'll get a full name straight away. So, yeah.
Okay, that's it. We can all go home now.
Yes.
Thanks, Casey. Good tip. That's great, man. Thank you very much. Now, the question this week. Oh, sorry. The first question this week became before this one was, what access do private investigators get to that other people don't? Casey, can you answer that?
Yeah. None.
So I can bring up the police and get them to tell me where someone lives, can I, Casey, or bring up the government?
No, we rely purely on skill set. We don't have any special access.
Nothing at all?
No.
Why do I get a license?
Because, well, to stop you from being charged with stalking.
So private investigators get no access to any information, any databases. They have no powers. Private investigator rings you up, says, look, I want to come and talk to you and get a statement off you. You can tell them to get stuffed. You won't get your claim paid, right? And they might come and, if you're claiming this, that, and the other, you caused the accident, well, they'll just take out a warrant on you and sell your house because you didn't cooperate with them, okay? You should have, because you were insured and you wouldn't cooperate with your insurer. It says in your policy you had to cooperate with them. It's in every car accident policy. It's in every house of contents policy. And you have a duty of care at work to other people you work with. So you want to think about before we tell people to get stuffed. They have no powers, private investigators. They cannot access information such as the police. They can't access your electricity bills, your telephone bills, that sort of thing. They ask for them and you can sign a release and they can get them, but they have no authority whatsoever to get it. The reason they are licensed is so they're background checked and they are a suitable person to go to a workplace, conduct inquiries about someone's workers' compensation claim or public liability, slip, trip and fall or whatever, and take away confidential information relating to that and make a report of it and send it, store it correctly and send it to the people that instructed them to do that. So absolutely zero powers in becoming a licensed private investigator. You're not going to be a quasi-police officer. You're not going to get even with the cops. That's the number one thing on my list, was to get even with the cops, right? You're not going to get even with the doctor or anybody else. No, it's just not going to happen. So absolutely no access to any confidential government databases or anything like that. The number one reason public servants lose their job in Australia is they access databases. You hear me saying it again and again and again. So that's the first question of this week. Our next question, this is the one I introduced at the program, was about cults. And people ring me up and say, look, I want to become a private investigator, do your course, and I'm going to bust cults. Now, my advice to them is, you hear the word cult, you stay away. You 100% stay away. Cults are extremely dangerous thing. They exist because someone has the charismatic ability to mind control people. They do. Okay, and they make them believe things and they make them accept a whole bunch of values that aren't true, that are suitable to them. All right, so do not get involved with cults. Why not? Okay. So, former cult member behind the 1987 manslaughter of a daughter receives a 9-year sentence. That's what the headline is screaming. You'll see headlines saying in Brisbane, I've got it here somewhere, I've just got to find it. Sorry, my apologies. Didn't come up. I do apologise. One I frequently show people is this one. Sex shop, drag queen person, celebrity who's working in a sex shop, was murdered by an ex-member of the family, the cult, run by Anne Hamilton Byrne for $650. Now, the retail worker in that sex shop who was murdered, he did a really good account of himself. Well, she did a really good account of herself, right? Wrestled the person who was committing the robbery down onto the floor, got the knife off him, got the knife away from him, okay? Really stood up, put up, fight for her life. Yeah, that's next slide. Okay, it's Christmas time. I'm coming. I'm going to do the dramatic stuff first. All right, so she's put up the fight of her life, got that knife off him. She didn't know he was smart enough to have a second knife stuck in his sock. He pulled that out and killed her with it. She called the police. He left with his $650, took her car. That was found days later. She called the police. They got to her. They found her crawling out of the building. She died in front of them. Ex-member of Anne Hamilton Byrne's The Family Cult. Lucky enough in our work to have Peter Spence present in our organisation as an instructor on several different subjects. Probably one of the most famous is his presentation on tunnel vision. Now, Peter Spence, may he rest in peace. He was involved in the investigation of the family cult run by Anne Hamilton Byrne during the 1980s and in the raids at the time on her facility where they released the children and freed them. Okay. Now, I walked down Melbourne, Spencer, it wasn't Spencer Street, it was Peter Spence. I was walking down the street in the middle of Melbourne with Peter Spence one day. I've told you this story before. And there were people walking the other way, older gentlemen, looked like older gentlemen. They were actually criminals. They all looked at Peter Spence. He looked at them. They said, "Hello, Mr. Spence." And he said hello back to them by their first name. They were all criminals he put in jail. They all respected him and they all feared him. Okay, this is a guy who doesn't muck about. Didn't muck about. All right. The Victorian Police investigated him and spent $72 million on investigating him for inappropriate conduct in the tax office. And they couldn't prove it. Someone else did it, and he was found not guilty. And they spent $72 million on it. He didn't even blink. All right. He was concerned about it at the time. Okay, but he won. They said he's got the stare of an eagle. He was involved in the raids on Anne Hamilton Byrne's facility where the children were released. She'd fed them drugs, all sorts of things. He wasn't scared of her, Anne Hamilton Byrne, who was a lady. He respected her and he knew she was lethal. He interviewed her or saw interviews and was present at interviews with her and her other cult members. This is a man who can look after himself, always armed. Don't muck about with cults. This lady died in a sex shop robbery because a cult member of that used 2 knives and he killed her. And there was another one I told you about killing a child. The cult is highly manipulative. It's a group which exploits and sometimes physically and or psychologically damages members and recruits, and financially. So psychologically, physically, and financially. Everything's given to the cult. The cult is everything. And if you don't go along with it, you're ostracized and you are totally brainwashed for commitment to the cult. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Sophisticated people become members of a cult who you wouldn't believe could actually be brainwashed, influenced, and swayed. Nurses, doctors, lawyers, People who are seemingly intelligent people go for that personality test and suddenly they're in a cult. It's really frightening. The depth and the permanence of changes in attitude and point of view depend on the personality of the individual. So you want to recover someone from a cult? It's like, how could I put it? I went to pre-birth classes with my wife before we had our first child. And I'll never forget the nurse. She said, your pregnancy is as individual as you are. I'm a teacher. I'm interested in that sort of shit. And I thought, what a great way of putting it. And it's exactly the same with someone coming out of a cult. The depth and permanence of change in attitude and point of view depend on the personality of the individual, the degree of motivation to be reformed, and the degree to which the environment supports the new frame of reference. Now, in Australia, I don't know about the rest of the world, but they come and rescue you from the cult. You come out and you're a child, you're put into foster care. That's fine. Doesn't mean you're going to be abused, right? But there's no support for having been in the cult. No. That's for a child. There's no support for an adult. Okay? You come out of there, you're on your own. You turn 16, you're released into the real world out of foster care. High school is going to be an absolute nightmare because you're indoctrinated since the day you were born to believe that cult leader was God or your mother or whatever, and obedience is everything, and you don't think for yourself. You're not going to fit in society, and they have real trouble getting back into society. Now, some people will beat it. Most won't. So before you start inviting ex-cult members into your home because you feel sorry for them or whatever, have a really good think about what is on the screen in front of you. You're an investigator. You're not a counsellor. You're not a psychologist. You're not a repairer or a fixer. All right? Okay, so just think about that. The person's got to be willing to get out of it. They've got to change their mindset, and there's no support. That's really big task. It's a bit of a downer, but my warning to you is just stay away from it. If it says cult, just stay away. Do not get mixed up in it. Peter was teaching in my class in Hobart. There were a couple of security guards in the class. They went out for a few drinks after the program. I don't drink, so I can go after the program. With 1 day left to go in the program, they went out for a couple of drinks. These two security guards knew that Peter was at the Russell Street Police Station a couple of years before when one of the people inside the Russell Street Police Station, who was a criminal being interrogated, rushed out of the interrogation room, smashed through a window and fell 3 stories to his death. They knew Peter was there. They asked him about it and said, did you throw him out that window? Peter said, no, I was walking past and he landed near me. That's what someone reckoned who was in the background. Those two security guards didn't return to class the next day.
Jeez.
This guy, you didn't mess with. Nice bloke, lovely bloke. But you don't mess with him. He respected frail, female, and Hamilton Byrne for the damage she could do because he saw it firsthand. Eminently qualified to deal with vicious murderers and people that are really badly damaged. Not a great way to end Spy Curious for the year, but my warning to you is to stay away. Think of your health and safety. Don't get involved with it. You're not a counsellor, all right? You are not responsible for it. Don't get involved with it. Stay right out of it.
There's quite a few really good interviews on, I've forgotten who it was, but it's an investigative journalist who has, it was about 3 years ago, she interviewed a lot of cult members that had escaped from the different cults around Australia, and it's really fascinating. And I listened to it on Spotify. I don't remember who it was, but I'm sure if you just Google it, it'll come up. I can't imagine there's that many investigative journalists that do it. But yeah, it was really interesting. Really interesting. Like, because often this is one of those things where we think of cults, oh, it doesn't happen in Australia, it's just America. But of course it happens here too, just like
Very
sex
much so.
trafficking, things like that we assume that happens everywhere else but here. But yeah, it definitely happens here too. So
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Case. Now, to leave on a bit more of a high. Last week I told you I am putting together an industry association for Tasmania, and I've had a really good response to it. Haven't been up difficult, people. It's been end of the year and everybody's trying to rush and get everything done at once. Pat's on holidays. He's sailing out of Brisbane Harbour right now as we speak, out of the Brisbane River. So it's just me handling everything until tonight when we close for a week. So Tasmania, yes, we're starting up an industry association down there, and I've had really good interest and really good support, and I will get back to you. It'll be over the weekend when I get back to you about that. On the 15th of January 2025 in I'm having a meeting to create the Victorian branch of AIRLAP, the Academy of Investigation, Risk and Loss Adjusting Professionals. Now that will be down in the Geelong area. If you are interested in becoming a committee member for AIRLAP in Victoria, get in touch with me. Okay, now we're only just beginning. All right, we have well over 100 members in Victoria of AIRLAP, well over that. And we have licensed investigators interstate, like Casey, who's also a licensed investigator in Melbourne, bringing that up to probably 150 members in Victoria. And we are going to do that. Now, why are we doing that? I've got some big issues with the implementation of regulations throughout Australia for private investigators. It's nothing to do with the LRD in particular, nothing at all. They do a great job at the LRD in Victoria, don't get me wrong. Okay, this is nationwide. So we're taking the concept that we've had nationally now since 2013 to make it more specific to Tasmania and more specific to Victoria and New South Wales and Queensland. Okay, but 15th of January, I'll be having the inaugural meeting for AIRLAP in Victoria if you're interested in being involved actively in an industry association. What do you have to do? There is no liability, right? You cannot be sued for anything it does. Okay, so effectively all you've got to do is be a president, vice president, secretary, nominated person, committee member, and what we're about is ensuring Australia-wide that regulatory compliance is maintained equally on everybody. It's not let go here. It's not upped there. We're there to monitor it and watch it. If we don't do it, nobody else is going to. Well, there are 2 industry associations in Victoria. Yes, there are. They do a great job. Look, one's for accountants, the other one's for people who do workers' compensation. And they're there to protect their patch. We're there for the Australian Security Academy graduates and students, and we're there for their welfare and their continuous professional development. They might not be interested in the other ones, or they may be, who knows. But 15th of January, you'll see more information on all our socials in relation to it. Casey, thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate that. I know you're busy.
That's okay.
And people, we're going to have a week off. We'll be back in early January. We trust you all have a wonderful Christmas and a very happy New Year, a prosperous New Year. And Pat, Casey and I will be back next year with Spy Curious, some new logos and some new stuff that we've in development. And I'll give you updates on our I'll give you updates on our industry association as we go. Do not go away, Casey. Stick around. Thanks for watching, people. I'll go out in our usual way.